Sherry, will Eric be able to screen share the documents, or are we going to have to flip back and forth?
Eric, can you screen share, and do you have that ability?
No, we just send everyone, we send you and the city and everyone the packages, and we don't run the meeting or anything. So no, we would have no control over that.
Hang on a second. Okay. Okay, we're ready to go.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 12:05. I'll call the meeting to order. First of all, thank you everybody for making time and for being here. Really appreciate your service to the city in this way. So we'll do a roll call. Hand it back over to you, Cherry.
Okay, Donovan. Mayor Alonso?
Present.
Vice Chairman Lombardi is absent. Councilman Igliozzi is absent. Ms. Silveria?
Present.
Mr. Costello? Mr. Costello?
Here.
Mr. Hirsch?
Here?
Mr. Winkleman?
Present.
We have 5 present and 2 absent. We have a quorum.
Great. Well, thank you. We'll move on to matter number 1, investment performance analysis. I'll hand it over to Eric.
Thank you, Mayor. If you turn to your first page of your package, which is actually in your digital clicker, it's page 4 of 39. We'll start with the current estimated performance through March 19th. And you can see that we continue to make money. The portfolio is up another 2.4% month to date in March, and up 4.4% year to date through that day. And as you can see, it's being dominated by equity. However, there has been a switch or a shift, at least temporarily, that we've been talking about in recent months. And as you'll see, that value, especially in the large cap area, is outperforming growth. Large cap growth is now actually flat to down on the year. And value is up substantially. As you can see, our index fund is up 9.9% year to date in large cap value. Russell 1000 growth is actually down 1%. You can see mid cap and small cap have been participating in recent weeks and months and outperforming. That's also a change. So there's been a shift in recent times. It's been quite volatile, as you all know, because you watch the markets. But you can see that our equity as a whole is up 9.2% year to date. And that has been being driven by that spread or that recovery of value versus growth, and growth struggling in the current environment. It's being driven by interest rates for the most part. And you can see that in our fixed income portion of the portfolio. Fixed income is actually down a little bit this year, down 1.9%. Year to date, rates have been rising. So as the economy has been recovering and anticipated to recover, interest rates have been rising sort of across the board or across the fixed income markets. That's been a sign of confidence for the most part in the economy. There's been huge stimulus, as you all know. The $1.9 trillion stimulus just passed. That is very, very large. We had a $900 billion stimulus back in December. And of course, the vaccine rollout has been increasing and rapidly increasing, doing about 2.5 million doses a day at current rates. And for the most part, there has been some plateauing and some increases in some areas. The caseload has been following and the death count has been dropping, thank heaven. So markets are looking past that now and taking interest rates up. So the yield on the 10-year Treasury, for example, has been bouncing around 1.6 or 1.7 in recent days. That was at 1% or below just a few months ago. So that's been a pretty rapid move in rates. And that explains sort of why your fixed income is down year to date, why your equity is doing very strongly year to date. So we expect that to continue. I expect more volatility. There may be another stimulus package. This one would be focused on infrastructure. That could be coming soon in the coming months. That will probably take a while and be a little harder to get through, I think, but at least as recommended, it will be large. And markets are starting to look at that. There may be some tax increases associated with that on capital gains, highest income earners, corporate taxes, etc. So markets will be evaluating that and looking at that. But in very recent times, since our last meeting or two, interest rates have been the dominant factor, and as we've discussed, that is what is explaining the relative behavior of the portions of the portfolio. All in all, pretty good. Up 4.4% year to date through the 19th is pretty good. It's only 2.5 months. It's not too bad. That's the general environment that we're in right now. Mayor, take any questions or clarify any points if you like.
Any questions or comments?
If we're talking about the portfolio itself, I do have some questions, but not on the overall presentation that Eric gave. Is that what you're entertaining, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, now's the time for that as well, David.
Okay. So I have actually two questions. One concerns Robeco, an active manager. Their 5-year performance has been below benchmark. But I'm more concerned with the percentage they represented of the portfolio. I don't want to get what happened to us with Renaissance happen to with them. And I think from a risk point of view, we don't want an active manager to have a very large portion of the portfolio. In the last report I saw here, it shows it's almost 8% of the portfolio, which is rather large for a single manager. The same applies to Brandon. Well, they've been doing well. They're 7% of the portfolio. And that's something I think we ought to talk about. I don't know how the other members of the committee feel, but I think that from a perspective of risk, that's something we should watch or deal with. So we don't wind up with a situation where we have an active manager tank for a while, like we did with Renaissance, and it affects the portfolio in a very big way.
I'll take it, David. Yes, well, we just cut Brandis essentially in half at the last meeting, and we have been steadily removing exposure from the Robeco managers as well, and did at the last meeting again. This is the pacing discussion that we've had in recent meetings, so that should continue to occur at least to some degree going forward in future meetings. But we just did a pretty substantial move in the last meeting with respect to that concept.
Well, from a risk point of view, Eric, what would you think would be the maximum any active manager should have as a percentage of the portfolio?
We've been comfortable with them in the range that they're in, these 7 or 8% ranges. But the board has, on more than one occasion, talked about lowering that. So if we could get them down to the 5 or 6% range pretty easily in coming meetings. I don't think anything less than that is in that range, or needs to be noticeably less than that. I'd say a 5% or 6% weight. That's a 20th of the portfolio or something like that. or 25th, that type of thing. So we'd be comfortable in that range.
David, can you just speak to that in other portfolios that you have experience with? Is the 7 or 8% range
It's high.
Is that uncommon?
It's high. I mean, not for an index fund because it's hundreds or thousands of stocks. But I don't know, Mike, you could speak to it. But even 5% is probably the upper limit of an exposure to an active manager.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would say under 10, but in that 5 to 10 range is, just thinking of the few others that I'm involved with for active management, and then passive obviously is a little different.
Okay. And just to get this right, so Eric, were you, when you talked about the phasing down, is 7 where we're going to land for Brandeis and 8 where we're going to land for Robeco, or are there additional reductions coming?
No, we were planning, based on previous discussions at least, to have some additional reductions. Not very large, not cutting them in half like we had in recent times with the other managers, but another point or two, yes, would be the plan.
Okay.
So we're already moving in David's direction.
I think so, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. And what time frame can we expect those changes?
Probably be over the next 3 months or maybe 6 at the outside, that type of thing. It depends on the rebalancing needs of the portfolio and when the city makes contributions, et cetera, and the amount of withdrawals that could have an impact by a month or two, but I would say it'd probably be over the next several months.
Okay. All right. So it's something that we'll continue to monitor over the next couple of months. I do want to be clear though, Eric, that this is just a conversation that we have had right now. This is not a directive. The directive is what we discussed last time. So that was a formal vote that we took to provide you guidance. And so we should stick to that. I don't want this conversation to be interpreted as, a new or different directive from what we've spoken about in the past.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions or any other comments? All right. If there are none, then I'll entertain a motion to accept the investment performance analysis as just delivered by Eric. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by David. Is there a second?
So move. Winkleman.
So moved by Commissioner Winkleman. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to matter number 2. Same discussion relative to Dexter donation, and I'll pass it to Eric.
Thanks, Mayor. We have, of course, the market discussion would equally apply to these portfolios, but we have a rebalancing recommendation to discuss for the board's consideration today. So if you turn to your first page of that package, the separate package, you'll see we give you the recommendation right up front, and we can show you what the returns have been. Those are deeper in the package, up about 5% year to date on these portfolios. But we're making small rebalancing recommendations here. adding to passive exposure. So there inside of this recommendation, there are several recommendations in terms of removing some active management, T. Rowe Price mid-cap growth, for example, cutting Brandis basically in half, for example, removing Sterling small cap value, for example, and these are added to passive exposure. So you have, oh, sorry, is there a question? Oh, sorry. So you see the new recommended target weights, not too much change there, just recommending a couple of less points in international, moving to domestic exposure. It's being added sort of spread out towards your domestic exposure going forward. So not big changes there. But if you were to look at the trades and the recommended rebalancing, for example, if you return to electronic page 6, this will give you an idea, which is page 3 at the bottom on the physical document, depending on which document you're looking at. You would see that we're have these rebalancing recommendations to this new target. You see the trades that are recommended to get you there. And in general, it's removing from active management and adding to passive index exposure to meet or hit that target that you saw on the previous pages. And you can see, for example, Brandis is cut in half, down to a target weight of 4.5%. It's currently 9.6%, et cetera. So moving from passive, slight rebalancing of the asset allocation, a couple of points, but the big moves are moving away from passive to active. And were the board to accept these recommendations, the amount of passive management in these portfolios would be over 3/4 of the portfolio, about 76% or so at those recommendations. So noticeable changes towards passive from active. Take any questions if they're there.
Any questions or comments?
And Eric, the overarching allocation is in point 1 for all of the portfolios, or is it different for each portfolio?
No, they're the same. Those portfolios have all essentially have the same asset allocation recommendations since the beginning.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So the first thing I'll do is I'll entertain a motion to accept the investment recommendations memo that was prepared by Wainwright, pages 1 through 8, entered into the record as Exhibit A. Is there a motion?
So move. John
So
Winkleman.
moved by Commissioner Winkleman. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Costello. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. So pages 1 through 8 are now entered as Exhibit A. And if there are no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion to accept Wainwright's recommendation as detailed in Exhibit A. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved
Second.
by Commissioner Hirsch and seconded by Commissioner Winkleman. Any discussion on that motion?
Roll call vote, Mayor.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Sherry, please.
Mayor LaMoza,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lombardi is absent, Councilman Igliozzi is absent, Ms. Silveria,
Aye.
Mr. Costello, Mr. Hirsch,
Yes.
Mr. Winkleman.
Yes.
We have 5 ayes, 2 are absent, the motion carries.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to matter number 3. Was there a question?
Yeah, just one question going back to the printed matter and I guess page 8, the contributions and withdrawals. So for calendar 2020, I see we contributed 16.5 million less than our withdrawals. And we're the number that goes back to 2015 in terms of the absolute dollar contribution we've made. And so I've got 2 questions. One, where we plan to do in this next calendar year? And secondarily, what is the actual recommended contribution for this endowment?
Yeah, thank you, David. I think that that's primarily a cash flow issue, but I'll pass it to either Larry or Sarah who want to expand on that.
Yes, so due to the COVID conditions and the city just monitoring cash and the tax collection periods, we did delay a large payment in December till the third quarter tax collection, and then we deposited 10 million in February. The ADC for this year, the required contribution for fiscal year 2021 is 90 million, and 74 of that comes from the general fund. And so the city plans on making its full pension contribution this year.
Okay, so you're saying that the pension is being done, Sarah, on a fiscal year basis as opposed to these numbers that we're looking at, which is calendar?
Correct, yes.
Right.
Our required contribution is as of June 30th, so it's a little different when you're looking at the calendar year.
So I think for pension oversight, it would be helpful to change this data to fiscal year rather than calendar.
I would not object to that, Commissioner.
I agree.
I would work with, Sarah and I would work with Mr. Bernazzi to restyle the reports going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, David. Okay, so we'll move on to matter number 3, a request to transfer $113,500 from the Charles H. Smith Trust Fund. And who takes that? Is that you, Larry, or?
Mayor, we're joined this morning by Karen Gomez from the Parks Department, and I believe she will be commenting on items number 2 and items number 3 and 4.
Great. Go ahead, Karen.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We're requesting a withdrawal from the Charles H. Smith Trust Fund for the Botanical Center in the amount of $113,500. And this is after our request from January when we requested $35,000, which was 0.9% of the fund. This ask is for 2.93% of the fund, keeping us in line with the regulations. And this request will be for the director to keep in line with her 5-year plan.
Okay. And Karen, this is indeed in keeping with the original purposes of the trust fund?
It is, and legal put a letter together.
Wonderful.
Mayor, if I may, the letter was provided yesterday to the clerk's office. I'm not sure if it was able to make it on to everyone today, but it has been provided.
Okay. And just for clarity, it simply states that this expense or this transfer is in keeping with the original purposes of the fund.
Yes, Your Honor, it does.
Great.
Excuse me, Kenny, I have a question. Did that come in late yesterday? Because I didn't receive anything.
I'll resend it to you, Sherry. I sent it.
Okay.
It was an email.
I only have what Karen gave us to put on the agenda. I don't have any additional information that came in later that you're talking about.
I'll email it to you
Okay.
right after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And can you, all right, and then I'll forward it to the members.
Okay.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay.
No?
So, I'll do 2 things. The first is, so a motion to approve the transfer of $113,500 from the Charles H. Smith Trust account to expendable account 819. And we will make that subject to the letter to the effect of this being in keeping with the original fund's purposes being delivered to the clerk's office. Is there a motion to that effect?
So move.
Second,
So moved by Commissioner Winkleman and seconded by Commissioner Hirsch. Any discussion on that motion?
Question, do we have to say that the letter comes from our legal department or not? Just a comment.
It is coming from our legal department, so.
No, I mean, in the motion, do we have to put that in? That's the only question.
Okay, so to clarify, yes, the motion is subject to that letter coming from the legal department.
Correct, okay.
On a roll call vote, Mayor, please.
Okay,
Mayor LaLosa,
aye,
Vice Chairman Lombardi is absent. Councilman Igliozzi is absent. Ms. Silveria,
Aye.
Mr. Costello,
Aye.
Mr. Hirsch,
aye.
Mr. Winkleman.
Yes,
We have 5 ayes, 2 are absent, so motion carries.
great, thank you. Move on to matter number 4, and Karen, take the lead on this as well, please.
Okay, this request is for $40,950 from the Edward Eli Trust Fund. It's 3% of the current balance, and this is used for summer programming in the parks, which includes concerts.
Mhm.
All right, same question from legal. Is this in keeping with the original purposes of the fund?
Yes, Your Honor, and likewise, a letter was sent over yesterday. I just resent the email to the clerk's office. It will be part of the record, and as the clerk stated previously, it will be provided to all of the members.
Wonderful.
Thank
Are there
you.
any questions or comments? Okay, if there are none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the transfer of $41,058 from the Edward Eli Trust Fund to the expendable account 862, subject to a letter being sent over from the law department to the clerk's office to the effect that this expense or this transfer is in keeping with the original purposes of the fund. Is there a motion to that effect?
Excuse
So
me,
moved.
it's 40,950.
40,950?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the amount on the agenda that I have at least is different. Okay, so that is for 40,950. Is there a motion on the table?
So move.
Kenny, excuse me, on the letter that I got from Wendy Nielsen, it says $41,058 on the letter, just to let you know.
Okay. All right, then that's fine. That's fine.
I just wanna clarify, when it came to us, what's the right amount? Is it the 4158 or the one that you just gave us?
Well, let's go with the 4158.
Okay.
Thank you.
$41,058. That's the letter from Wendy that I got.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, so just to be clear, we're settling on $41,058, which is the amount both in the agenda and in the letter provided in the Parks Department. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
all right. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move. Winkleman.
All right. All right, motion made by Commissioner Winkleman. Is there a second?
Second,
Seconded by Commissioner Hirsch. Any discussion on that motion?
Roll call vote, please.
All right. Go ahead,
Mayor
Sherry.
LaLosa,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lombardi is absent. Councilman Igliozzi is absent. Ms. Silveria,
Aye.
Mr. Costello,
Aye.
Mr. Hirsch,
aye.
Mr. Winkleman.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes, 2 absent, the motion carries.
That's great. Thank you. We'll move on to matter number 5. No one is really sure why this got onto the agenda. So I'll make a motion to continue this indefinitely. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to that effect?
So
Wait a minute,
moved.
is this item number V?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved by Commissioner Hirsch. Is there a second?
So move.
Seconded by Commissioner Winkleman. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. That matter is continued indefinitely. And moving on to matter number 6, the law department is here. All right, there are no issues relative to litigation to discuss. Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, we plan on making a presentation at next month's meeting.
Okay. All right, so for now, I'll entertain a motion to continue matter number 6 until our next month's meeting. Is there a motion?
So move.
So
Winkleman.
moved by Commissioner Winkleman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hirsch. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right. That matter is continued. We'll hear from the law department next month. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move. Winkleman.
So moved by Commissioner Winkleman, seconded by Commissioner Costello. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?